Alrighty, here we are with David. You won today 4-0,
I did.
and you won with a pretty typical Naya burn list.
Right.
I see you're running a 4 of Searing Blaze. So tell me, now, you've got, there's a sideboard, okay. You were running a 1 of Lavamancer. So why did you choose this as your 60?
Well, because typically what I want to do is accelerate to kill the player as fast as possible. That's the point of burn. I do want to land creatures on the first game, especially because no one's really expecting, my deck per se. I want to get the creatures to land immediately so they can deal some damage. I'll be happy even if the Swift Spear does 1. And I'm going to rely on, obviously, one card from their hand to either remove my creature, deal with the threat, or they're going to be penalized with the prowess. And if it's the Goblin Guide that stays on board, it's 2 damage every turn. So they're going to have to exchange at least a 1-for-1. And by that time, at least if I'm going first especially, I'll have done some damage to them. On top of that, if I do have them to stick by the second turn, I can always either trigger the prowess, or if I have a Tarkus command, always pump them up for additional accelerated damage. By turn 2, ideally though, I do want to get the Eidolon on board, particularly with matchups like Control. And essentially, like even a mirror match, that way I can control them. Even with Soul Sisters today, actually, my Eidolon was able to do a lot of damage just coming in on turn 2. With the creatures coming out on battlefield trying to gain life, but this negating it. Or even my Skull Cracks, actually, I'm running 3 main board.
3 main Skull Cracks?
Yeah.
So what did you play against today?
Played against Soul Sisters, played against Infect, played against RG Panza, and what was the last one? Can't remember the last one.
So what was your hardest matchup?
I would say Soul Sisters.
It
started right off the bat with Soul Sisters. I was not expecting, protection from black and red, with a 1/1, and having 3 of those on board, and every time a creature comes out, she gains 1 life.
Yeah.
But what allowed me to defeat Soul Sisters immediately was, first of all, the Searing Blazes were able to take out the Sarah with the lifelink 1/1. And it definitely kills a creature and deals damage to them, so she's not able to gain 30 life for the +5/+5 counters.
Right.
I would kill off the life-linkers, save the Skull Cracks, which were in my hand several times, to actually prevent her from gaining life in the first place. The Eidolons definitely continued to do damage from there, and she wasn't able to really deal with my burn spells. I didn't really have many creatures in play. Because actually game 2 and 3 I sideboarded my Goblin Guides out.
Right.
Typically it's a little bit clumsy. It does tend to be blocked by a lot of her creatures, and I notice that most decks are able to block my creatures. So especially with Goblin Guides bringing in lands for my enemy, I don't think that's a good idea. So every time I sided Goblin Guides out, I've had good success.
Cool. Yeah. So let's take a look at your sideboard. You've got 1 more Skullcrack, a couple Core Firewalkers, Grafdigger's Cage, 3 of Destructive Revelry, Deflecting Palm. I saw you do that a couple times.
Yeah, that tech is real.
And then Path to Exile. So tell me, Deflecting Palm, how good is this card good for you?
Oh yeah, that's definitely good for Affinity and Infect, particularly. Even with this RG Panza matchup, as you saw, I was able to deflecting Palm 5 damage from the Thragtusk, which helped me pretty much win the game.
Yeah.
A lot of opponents, they don't see it coming in the first place by game 2. But if game 3 they're expecting it, sometimes I push them to a corner where they have to, respond to it. Otherwise, they're just dead because they have to do what they have to do.
Right.
And the Eidolons.
Sure. Yeah.
And definitely the Eidolons also help with that, because they have to resolve to the Deflecting Palm. And if they're going to cast any spells, they're going to have to take the 2 damage from the Eidolons and also resolve to that. But yeah, the Path to Exiles are very, very helpful. With Infect, if they're trying to pump up the creatures, that definitely just takes care of everything.
Right.
And removes all their cards from their hand, and you get the card advantage. And obviously, Deflecting Palm can deflect the Infect damage back to them, instantaneously killing them, as well as Affinity.
Sweet.
Yeah, this helps against Affinity too, Destructive Revelry, without question. Yeah, it's...
Great. Then, well, congratulations for today, and I guess you'll bring this back FNM?
Yep, definitely.
Great. See you at FNM. Good luck.
Thank you.